Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. The European Union has decided to boost its EUFOR Althea mission to Bosnia and Herzegovina following the recent political unrest in the deeply divided nation, composed of two distinct entities. In late February, Milorad Dodik, the president of one of those entities, the Serb-dominated Republika Srpska, was convicted of undermining the country's constitutional order. In response, not only did he challenge the legitimacy of the ruling, but also ordered several branches of national institutions out of Republika Srpska, sparking renewed fears of secession. So is Milorad Dodik, a well-known ally of Russia's leader Vladimir Putin, about to push the nation further towards chaos? Joining us now is Konrad Pawłowski, professor at the Marie Curie-Skłodowska University. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning.
So let's begin with the latest developments, the deployment of additional European forces. Do you think it is justified given the recent developments?
Definitely yes. This is the sign of the European Union that EU is watching the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina and will never accept any kind of secession. I mean, for that moment, it looks like a kind of legal secession, but of course this is the political game. And Mr. Dodik is quite famous about his actions, so his narratives about or rhetoric about secession from Bosnia. And so this is nothing new here, but geopolitical context is rather different. I mean, I'm talking about situation in Ukraine right now. So there are some people in Bosnia and Serbia and probably in region as well who think about changing the borders, and maybe according to some expectations, this is the moment. I mean, some right-wing radicals think about that or actually dream about that moment. So EU is just showing that there is no time for any changes, and Bosnia is a sovereign country, and EU shows its willingness to support territorial integrity of that country. So it is mainly the political decision to send additional troops to Bosnia.
You said right-wing radicals could be dreaming of this moment. Who else could be dreaming of this moment, though? Vladimir Putin, perhaps?
I mean, yeah, Russia always supported Dodik because Mr. Dodik's policy represented kind of, I mean, he was always a troublemaker in Bosnia, let's be honest. And according to Bosnian politicians, it was Dodik who created the most serious political, legal problems in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Russia supported that because any conflict, any institutional conflict or dispute in Bosnia would support Russia's efforts to at the Eastern Front. I mean, to complicate the Western countries, the achievements of the Western countries in stabilization of the Balkans. It was always the goal for Russia. So Russia wanted to, still wants to see the Balkans in a kind of like a gray zone between the West and Russia itself. So it was the strategy. It was clear that Russia was always interested in some kind of problems in the Balkans. This is the part of the Russian policy in the region to destabilize the Balkans.
And does Milorad Dodik have any other allies in Europe? Of course, Aleksandar Vučić, the leader of Serbia. But are there any European Union leaders who would perhaps be willing to take his side?
I mean,
leaders of European Union countries, of course, not leaders of the European Union, just for clarity.
This is definitely Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, the Prime Minister of Hungary. He's playing his own. I think we know that Orban always had different opinion about so many issues relating not only EU integration but also the situation in Ukraine and, of course, the situation in the Balkans. I believe that Hungary wants to be a regional, maybe not a power, but one of the most important countries in the region. Its policy towards the Balkans is quite visible. Cooperation with Serbia is definitely on a very high level. And of course, cooperation with the Republika Srpska. It's the same. Dodik always had this support from Orban, and even today, of course, like any possible attempts for arrest of Mr. Dodik would face the response from Hungary. We saw that. I mean, this police unit sent to Bosnia, and of course, declarations from the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs. I mean, the criticism of the Western policy, and not only today, talking about that there is no time for this kind of, let's say, post-colonial policy towards Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in a way blaming the West for all those conflicts, problems, and even ongoing crisis in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is the part of the Hungarians' foreign policy today.
It is quite surprising to hear that they call it post-colonial. I mean, this is an international agreement that ended the bloody conflict in this part of the world back in the 1990s. Speaking of which, we had Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State of the United States, speaking out on that. Are you relieved by the fact that he chose to condemn Milorad Dodik?
That's the question, actually. Milorad Dodik really wanted to find some kind of, let's say, support from Mr. Trump. And definitely it's the same for President Vučić, that Vučić and Dodik really wanted to have a friendship with Mr. Trump and to make a deal, let's say. So the ideas about changing the borders, it's still like officially not on the table, but those leaders never stopped to think about some kind, let's say, changes in the region. So yeah, so I think it is kind of disappointment for Mr. Dodik to hear that strong support for Bosnia's territorial integrity and, of course, sovereignty, and the Dayton Agreement from the State Secretary. And but yeah, the problem of Bosnia is the problem of the Bosnia's integrity is not only for now, because this year it will be the 30th anniversary of the Dayton Agreement, and the situation didn't change that much as we can expect. Like after all those decades, so many problems which actually led to war, and later was frozen by the Dayton Agreement. So many problems is still there. I mean, it is still a frozen conflict. I mean, maybe the atmosphere is different after all these 30 years, but all this secessionist attempts from Mr. Dodik is definitely the same. It's based on the same political thought which led to the dissolution of the country in 1992. So yeah, there's a lot of problems, and what Marco Rubio is doing, I'm not sure this is exactly what Mr. Trump would do in the future. So long story short, I think it's a kind of disappointment for Mr. Dodik to hear that from Mr. Rubio.
What do you think is going to happen if Mr. Dodik loses his appeal, and if the conviction, in particular the prison sentence, is upheld? Do you think that there might be unrest in the country? Because after all, this is a very serious development, a sitting president being arrested and barred from politics for 6 years.
I believe this is the political stalemate, and it needs political solution. So that's the political solution which would eventually stop that deterioration of the situation. Of course, the situation is quite serious. It's like legal secession at this very moment. So it's very, 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 serious situation. I must confirm that once again. And the solution is probably also a kind of, taking Mr. Dodik away from politics for maybe a few years. So I think we heard about this special unit of Hungarian police sent to Bosnia. So there are rumors that the true reason for them to be there was to evacuate Mr. Dodik from Bosnia and Herzegovina and let him stay in Hungary. So official reason for this visit of Hungarian police was to some kind of training with Bosnian Republika Srpska police. So it was the official reason, but the truth was that they probably came to take Mr. Dodik away from Bosnia, and in that way to let him escape any possible arrests and a year in the jail. But once again, I don't believe that he will ever go to jail. I think we need some kind of political solution, and but at this moment we don't see that coming. So yeah, this is the job for politicians to find the way out from that crisis, and it's once again a stalemate, and that would be my answer to that question.
So trouble in the Balkans show no signs of abating, at least for the time being. Professor Konrad Pawłowski was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us.